Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to give you a breakdown dollar by dollar what your final expense startup costs are, whether you're going to sell face-to-face or over the phone. My name is David Duford, owner of Duford Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell things like final expense, Medicare, and annuities, both face-to-face and over the phone. So let's jump right in. What I'm going to cover today are the major startup costs, whether you're selling final expense either over the phone or face-to-face. So we're going to start from beginning to end. So the first one, of course, is licensing costs. You have to get your license to sell final expense. All you need is a life insurance license. You don't need a pre-need license or a funeral home license. Some states sound like they say you need it, but you really don't. Just get your life insurance license. That process typically means you've got to take a test, say at a proctor like Kaplan, or there's some other ones, Pearson VUE comes to mind. You also have to pay or apply to get your license after you take the test, as well as do pre-test study with some sort of web-based offer. And then you've got to pay for thumbprints and fingerprints and all that jazz. You're probably looking at, depending on the state, a couple $100 out of pocket before you can actually, wave your license in the air and say that you've been approved as an appointed life insurance agent in your state. So say $200 to $300 is a pretty good target before you have your license. The next thing on the list here is carrier appointment fees. So whenever you apply to a carrier, typically there is a small appointment fee that is assessed by the carrier. Typically it comes out of future commissions debited to your account. It is something that you do have to carry the cost for. In most cases, it just depends. You're looking at $10 to $20, really small and nominal, not a big expense. For each carrier, most carriers nowadays, you're required to have errors and omissions insurance. This essentially is general liability coverage. So if something happens, you issue a policy and the policy holder claims something was done incorrectly and files a lawsuit. This protects you. The cost of this is somewhere between, it's around $460 for a life insurance E&O that will satisfy most carriers. And that's $460 for the year. There's a lot of vendors that will cut it down to a one-time down payment of $140 and then a weekly or monthly recurring bill of $40 a month that you can cancel anytime. So you do have to get that nowadays. At least that's required in my agency. Most of the ones we deal with, it's required to as well. If you're doing face-to-face sales, you're going to have some unique operating costs that the telesales guy won't. Chief amongst them is your wear and tear to your vehicle. You're going to be putting a lot of miles on your car. You're going to be filling it up with a ton of gas. You're probably going to have more cost as an operator face-to-face for your vehicle. So these are all expenses that can vary across the board. I always allot it around a $500 to $700 indirect and direct cost. I may not accumulate that right away, but I figured, I'm going to be changing the oil more often, changing tires, once a year. If I travel 40 to 50,000 miles, you'll travel that much in some markets. It's going to depend. You're going to work in a metro or suburban or a rural market, and that's going to affect your mileage. Just remember that with selling as a business is what you are, you can deduct your miles. Make sure you track your miles. Make sure you have some sort of app now. It's really easy. You can track the miles automatically. And deduct those miles. It'll make a significant difference, and it'll offset some of these costs you accumulate. Also, for the telesales agent, you're going to have some unique costs as well that you have to account for. For example, your dialing cost, a good CRM, $100 to $150 a month is about what I would expect. That will also include the dialer as well, and then you can track your leads that way. And any additional equipment, you might need a second monitor, probably need a headset, $50 or so is what I would say there. A monitor might cost you $100 these days, pretty affordable. And that's a one-time cost, it's not recurring. Obviously, the CRM dialer is recurring, and it's going to be about $150, $200 a month, roughly. It's just somewhere in that range. And then, of course, the biggest cost, the one you should be most concerned with, up and running, is your lead cost. This is going to account for 95% of your total annual cost. It is the driving force behind your ability to sell final expense successfully. You have to have people to see. Of course, we teach a lead-based business model. So you got to buy leads. And what are you looking at leads? So I can just tell you what we do. Other organizations may do it differently, but this is what I've arrived to as being the norm. It's what helps more agents be successful. And if you don't follow this in my agency, you're not a good fit, simply because agents more likely fail if they don't. So for a part-time agent that joins my agency to sell final expense over the phone or telesales, we're looking at least $400 a week. If you're full-time, $500 to $600. The timeline in which we're looking for a commitment, we don't ask you to sign a contract, but we want you to do this at that rate, part or full-time, for a whole month. We think that in final expense, you should be able to establish fairly quickly, within a month's time, if this business is right for you or not. You'll know in a month's time if you like it, enjoy it, like the people, or you don't. And you should see evidence that you're going to be profitable within a month's period of time and be profitable by the second month sometime very early on. So that's pretty much all your costs. There might be some little things that I'm forgetting about. The big picture here, guys, is it's a leads-driven business, purchase leads-driven business. So 95% plus of your costs are going to be accumulated there. And if you want to give this business an honest shot, you got to have the money for the leads. It's not enough just to have a license and then a hope and a prayer. You have to have people to see. And the way we teach it in final expense is not to cold call, but to buy leads, run the appointments over the phone or face-to-face, and make sales happen that way. Hope you enjoyed this video. My name is David Duford, owner of DeFord Insurance Group. If you'd like to learn more about how my agency works, you can click the link above or below. It'll take you to an FAQ page to learn how I do things. If you have a comment, feel free to leave it below. I'll personally respond. And subscribe and like to this video if you haven't already. And again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care.